Our next speaker is Carlo Riva. Carlo is the research officer for UFO Research Gympie, that's just north of Brisbane, about 2 hours drive north of Brisbane. He is an affiliate of CNI Exposure magazine, and Carlo has had his own personal experiences with abductions, and Carlo will speak about a particular abduction case here today. Would you all make welcome Mr. Carlo Riva.
Thank you very much, Tino. Good afternoon. The particular case I'd like to talk about this afternoon I find very fascinating because for me it was a very emotional experience that I had with this particular person. It occurred early last year when a lady phoned me up and got in touch with me to tell me that she thought she'd been abducted. Very briefly, I put abductions into 3 different categories. It's purely my own opinion. There are invites where people have an encounter, invited to go along with them. Abductions without consent, which means it seems to me to be the most common type of abduction, and missing time abductions. I've been working with 5 abductees over the past 8 months, and one of the 5 persons concerned is the person I'm going to talk about this afternoon. I'll refer to her as Paula. She's now 31 years of age, and as I say, she came to see me early last year in a state of great anxiety. When I met her, she showed me various marks on her body, mainly on her arms, her legs, neck and abdomen, and her husband was with her on these occasions because he also had strange markings on his neck. With Paula, the most fascinating thing that she showed me, which when I saw it I just couldn't believe, was that a core sample of tissue had been taken from the base of her skull. And I'll just show you a diagram, if I may, which I'll come back to later. How does this work? Is that correct? Can you see that?
I'll try and get a bit darker in here.
Okay. Right. This core sample was about 4 millimetres deep and about 4 millimetres in diameter, and it was not bleeding. There was no visible signs of bleeding. It looked very, very, very fresh, and it was taken just below the occipital bone in the area of the semispinal capitis muscle, which I'm told is a very delicate area to mess around with. Right. I've since been told by a physician that to do any operation on this part of the skull is quite dangerous in the hands of a non-professional. So who could have done this? Samples of skin which were removed from the arms and the legs were also quite unusual by way of the fact that the incisions that had been made were very, very precise. I have to apologise here, I put the wrong one up. Right. These are the types of samples that were taken from arms and legs. What is very fascinating is that the edges are absolutely dead clear cut. There is no overcutting. Like on the corners, there is no overcutting either to the right or to the left or up or down. They meet absolutely dead perfect. These are the different shapes that were taken from her body. The core sample from her neck was absolutely round. It was this shape here. This shape here and this shape here were from arms and legs. This particular one here was taken from just below the navel, slightly to the left of the navel, on the abdomen. And this one here was the one of particular interest. The reason for it was because not only did it not hurt her, did it not sting, it didn't bleed, there was no emission from it whatsoever, and yet it was absolutely fresh. Right? Now, when she approached her doctor about this, he asked her who had done this, and she said, well, I don't know, I can't tell you. And he didn't actually make fun of her, but he thought that there was something a little bit more to it than what she was telling him, and questioned her further. She wasn't going to say that she'd been abducted. She felt too embarrassed, too self-conscious to say so, but she just kept repeating, I don't know. And the outcome of it was that a second opinion was to be given on what this could be. She was then given a referral to go to Brisbane to see a very top man here, who's a plastic surgeon, and examined this area here under magnification with special instruments that they use in the medical profession. And is that correct? Right. And what was seen was that the skin layer, which is made up of epidermis and dermis, is attached to the body on a papillary layer, which is little hills and mounds like this. Right? This layer here had been removed without any damage whatsoever to the papillary, right? Which is medically impossible. It is an impossible medical procedure. Cannot be done. It would be like taking very strong adhesive tape, sticking it to tissue paper, and then trying to separate the two without removing one single fibre from the tissue paper onto the sticky tape. It's an impossible medical task to perform. He wanted to know who did this. Again, she had to say that she did not know who had done this procedure, and he did not believe that. So the methods used by the beings that had taken her are quite remarkable, to say the least. I saw this for myself. I couldn't see it in great detail, although a magnifying glass was used, but I couldn't see it in great detail. But it was as fresh 2 days after it occurred as the day when I saw it. It's quite remarkable. Later on, she had another experience, which was really quite dramatic. Paula became pregnant, and just into the 4th month of the pregnancy, after having been for various checkups, because she was a person of delicate disposition, I suppose would be the term to use, and carrying children was something she had to be very careful of. She had to do all the right sort of things. So she had to take it easy. And it was suggested that she would have regular checkups on how the pregnancy was going, which she did. The ultrasound pictures taken showed that she was carrying a perfectly healthy, normal-looking fetus, absolutely no abnormalities at all. And everything was going quite smoothly, until one of the checkups that she went to, it was revealed that there was no longer a fetus there. The fetus had disappeared. Well, you can imagine the distress that she went through, having been told that you're no longer pregnant, and having been told that you must have miscarried. Only a woman would know whether she'd miscarried or not. And this was quite an argumentative point that she carried on with the people at the clinic. Nevertheless, they were adamant to say to her, you have never been pregnant. There are no indications of a pregnancy. In fact, there's no indication that a pregnancy has ever occurred. And it was only later on, when she produced the records and the photographs, the ultrasound pictures, that they then began to take her seriously. She went through a very traumatic period in her life during that time, and never thought she'd ever conceive again or wanted to. And during this period of time, I was in continual contact with her, and met her on several occasions. Paula is abducted. This has been going on for 3 years. She's abducted on a regular basis, 2-3 times a week sometimes. It's got to the point now where she knows when the abductions are going to occur. She has prior warning, and whatever she's doing, she'll just stop, go out of the house, and she's just taken away. Right? There are various, she's told me there are various methods in which she's taken. She goes out of her home into the backyard, and there'll be a bright light. There'll be somebody, a being standing there. She'll go towards that being, go with them into the bright light, and the next thing she's inside a craft. She has no sensation of being elevated or beamed up, or even any sensation of walking. Just into the bright light, and the next minute she's in the craft and away. Sometime later, Paula became pregnant again. And of course, this time she took additional care with the pregnancy. Was very, very, very careful. And the emotional part for me was when I met her on this occasion. She told me that she'd also lost this child, and it was for me. It was very difficult being to, you know, I don't know if you can appreciate what I'm trying to say here. Being confronted with a young woman who's already lost one child, and now she's in front of you telling you that she's just lost another. I mean, I just can't imagine what she must have been going through at that time. Right? And it was a very, very emotional experience for me. And exactly the same thing happened again. She lost a second child. Right? And if you've seen the movie, I think it was called Intruders. Has anybody seen that movie, Intruders? Where the woman was taken up into the craft, and she sees one child. It's one, I believe, isn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong. It's one child, isn't it? Paula claims that she was taken and she was shown both her children. And she just cracked up. That's when she just cracked up. And for several years after that, she was quite bad with that. Now, on the other hand, she's with therapy and consultation. She's been able to overcome most of her trauma, but she's still being abducted, and she still goes. There is no longer any fear with her when this happens. She says she feels quite comfortable with it. She still has the marks on her body from time to time appear, but she doesn't suffer any more trauma. There is one other thing I'd like to say on abductions is that I happened to give a lecture some time ago up in Dolby, and the lady up there invited me back to her place, and she has several children, and one of the children, 4 or 5 year old boy, had also been abducted. And apparently, on one particular evening, this little boy screaming in his bedroom. The mother rushed into the bedroom to see what was going on. And the little one saying there's 3 men outside the bedroom window. And the mother looked out the bedroom window. She didn't actually see the three people, but she saw 3 shadows disappearing down the bottom of the yard. so she did actually see something. When I spoke to the little boy, I gave him a felt tip pen and a piece of paper, and I said, can you draw for me what you saw at your window? And he promptly drew quite well, as a matter of fact, for a 5-year-old. He promptly drew the face of a small grey with the big black eyes and a little slip of the mouth. Coming from a 4 or 5-year-old boy, I find that really extraordinary. I don't know how you feel about that, but I felt it was quite amazing. The child now has this friend that comes to him day and night, who he plays with. And I asked him, what do you call this, your friend? And he just said, friend. So from the mouth of babes, I think, comes a lot of truths that we can't ignore. Paula's story, for me, is certainly one which is very, very profound and will always stay with me. I still see her, as I do the other abductees that I'm working with at the moment. I find it a truly a fascinating subject, and we've recently started a group, UFOSA, which deals with UFO research and abductee support. Is also an abductee support group, which we hope to be up and running well before Christmas. There's been a few glitches because we've had people being very sick and we haven't been able to get it off the ground, but we hope to have it up and running by Christmas. And it is advertised in the UFO directory, and I think Keith Basterfield has also advertised it for us in his newsletter. Well, that's about all I have to say on abductions. I hope it's been of interest to you. And if there's any questions that I can answer, go for it. Yes.
I just want to follow up. Is she still being abducted now?
Yes, she is. Yes, she is.
Are you studying her, like trying to be there when the craft comes or something?
Well, she lives. She doesn't live close to me. She lives quite some distance. But on those occasions that she's got in touch with me, I have been up to see her. Yes. I have not seen. You're asking me if I've seen this
The
myself.
craft, like, be there when it happens?
No, I haven't. No.
Has anybody else? Like,
Only her husband. Only her husband. He's had the same marks on his neck. He has them on the right side of his neck.
is he still, is he continually being abducted as well?
No, not as much as she has. He's been abducted about 3 or 4 times, to the best of my knowledge. Hers is ongoing, and I think the connection is with her being abducted so often is taking of these tissue samples, and particularly the loss of 2 fetuses. One can only guess. I've had people ask me this before. Why would they do this? I mean, can you imagine the anger that she must feel? Be tremendous. Why is this happening to me? I've asked lots of people that question. I can only form my own opinion, but I have asked other people. And the answer, the majority of the answers that I get is it's to do with genetic alteration, genetic engineering. And that seems to be the question, the answer I get from most people who have even more knowledge than I have.
What's happening there? Because the females to breed.
Sorry?
They're using females to breed.
This is very possible. Yes.
You said you know of occasions now that's occurring 3 times a week with this woman.
Yes.
Why isn't it that someone can stay with this woman or yourself or someone who's in UFO research to try and witness this yourself?
Good question. She's not working full time. She was earlier on. She's not working full time now. Her husband works down here in Brisbane. They live out near Kingaroy somewhere. Right? I'm not going to divulge exactly where, but they live out near Kingaroy somewhere. He works in Brisbane. She's home by herself most of the time. It would appear that when she's being abducted, her abductees know when she's alone, right? The only time that she's ever been abducted and there's been another person there was on the occasions when her husband was there also, and that was on a camping trip they went on a camping trip, and she was taken while they were on the camping trip. He actually witnessed that, right? But other than that, when she's been at home and she's been abducted, they're obviously very careful that it isn't witnessed by other people. I think in all probability, if she, and it happens very quickly, when she gets the sensation, the awareness that she's going to be abducted, it happens very quick. She might just be doing something, a house chore, and she gets this feeling or this sensation, and she just goes outside, and it all happens within a few moments. So she wouldn't have a lot of time to contact somebody to come and have a look. So that's the reason why, I think. Yes.
Has there been any suggestion, like post-hypnotic suggestion, to make
yes,
her...
she's undergone all that, and
I'm not talking about regression. I'm talking about giving her a thought to make her a bit more immune to the activity. If you know what I mean.
I can't answer that. I don't know.
No.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm sorry, what's your name again?
Carlo.
With your question there, I think what they do is being something what they do. If you're in bed with a partner in that situation, they render your partner unconscious.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yeah.
Where they don't know, so you're helpless, you get taken away.
You become totally numb to what's going on around
Paralysed.
you. Yeah.
Actually, I was going to say the same. It doesn't matter. You could be sitting on the person's knee and he goes, you don't, you don't know about it.
That's right. It's completely unaware.
Not fair, eh?
Sorry, I didn't know.
How long ago was it when the first 7 fetus disappeared, like 2 years or 10 years?
Well, between the two pregnancies, you mean?
No, I mean if they were born...
When did this happen? I've known her 2 years, so that's 2, that's 3, that must be 5 years now. Yeah, 5 years now, yeah.
They haven't given her any indication at all of why they're taking her. Has she ever asked, or can she make any communication?
Yes, and I don't think it was... Oh,
it was a similar question. That's
right. It is, from what she's been told, the assumption she comes to is that it's for genetic purposes, the genetic engineering.
So she's not frightened of it anymore?
Not now, no. Not well, no.
So they've indicated, they made any indication that they're not here to harm, or that they're...
Exactly. Exactly so, that they're not here to harm, but to then, who is to judge what is harm and what is not? For them, they have no feelings. So the way they see things is completely different to the way you and I would see something. You and I experience pain. They have no knowledge of what pain is. So what they do to them, it seems quite okay. But we on the receiving end, on the other hand, feel, well, this is a no-no. Yes?
I'm interested in the skin thing.
Yes.
Does a plastic surgeon follow it up?
Yes, well, to the best of
the
medical report was that she'd had the sample taken from just below the navel, and that it was a procedure unknown to the medical profession at that time, and probably still is. The plastic surgeon here in Brisbane, when he examined her, they use a special magnifying apparatus which would magnify up to the same as a microscope, and he couldn't understand how a sample of skin could be taken and removed from the papillary layer without any damage occurring to the papillary layer. And if there's anybody here as a medical profession, they'll know what that is. It is an impossible task. Even with laser surgery, you'd see some evidence.
Yeah, I just think this is a wonderful, verified piece of evidence that what's happened to it has been published in medical journals. I mean, they see something miraculous like that.
Well, imagine that the guy, in the end, sort of, I don't think I mentioned it, but in the end, he virtually said, you know what, there's nothing I can do, go. Imagine if she would have been able to tell him how the procedure was done, he would be the richest plastic surgeon in the world, wouldn't he?
Well, they do pretty well.
All those on Goodman Terrace would all disappear, and he'd be the only one, because everybody would want to go to him. It would be a wonderful thing, but she wasn't able to tell him. He could see it with his own eyes, wouldn't believe it, or also...
Well, they often do, dermatologists, if they see something strange in plastic
Oh, yeah.
will take a
It is
photograph
never-
of the background lens.
He never took any pictures, and it has never been published. He can't do that without her permission.
No, that's true.
Right. Just one
Last one.
no.
You can.
So
This gentleman here.
could I ask, please, has Paula derived any benefit from this association with these entities?
Not really. The only thing she's managed to get from it is now that she has no more fear. That's it.
Which they never really gave, well, that's something they imposed on her in the first place.
Possibly, yeah. Thank you very much.